So with vital force, I would say a lot of lower body strength. Squats are very good. As others have said, the physical exercise is very good for vital force. I think sometimes when you physically exercise, you're naturally charged with vital force. As far as the voidness, the void is essential. And I feel like that is its own journey as you go throughout initiation into Hermetics, for example, in the 10 steps. You keep coming back to the void to realize the concept of emptiness and the expansion of emptiness. And you could call it nothingness too. I mean, there's Buddhist literature on, the highest heavens and the lowest hell are all empty. Everything is empty, and you're just wallowing in the emptiness. And a lot of that obviously has to do with impermanence too, and that everything changes and that everything passes and nothing is permanent. And so if you can kind of contact that emptiness, that's great. The other thing I like to recommend is, and I've mentioned this in some of my videos, the great here now. I almost see that as a pseudonym for God, the great here now, because everything that happened in the past happened in the here now. You were there and it happened in the now. Everything that happens in the future will happen in the now. It won't be the future or the past. It's all been one single moment in the now. And you've always been situated exactly where you are in the here. So meditating on the great here now can really almost turn an off switch to the mind. And I'm kind of piggybacking on some of the things that Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now, which I read first at a silent monastery that was very influential for me. And so resting in the great here now and almost discovering its vastness, the more you kind of integrate the concept of it, I think that can help with void training tremendously.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Victoria, would you have something you'd like to add on any of these topics?
Sure. I was going to do visualization, but I was inspired by what Clint said about the void. And I would like to add to that because the void and Providence are my favorite places to go in meditation. And when I was 18, I memorized the Heart Sutra, which is about realizing that phenomena is all inherently empty. Form is not different than energy. Energy is not different than form. Form is energy. Energy is form. Thus, everything, is of an empty state. And so for like insights and tips, when you do meditative processes to go into the void, it's about training your brain frequencies to tune into a different state of energy. So most people struggle with this at the beginning of IIH and step 1, because you have to get your mind from stop bouncing around and reacting to things to just going into a center point of stillness and turning into that frequency. But that frequency is what's behind everything in physical manifested reality. So even though I've worked through all the 3 books to one degree or another, I'm always returning to void training. And when I don't feel like practicing, the first thing I will do is go into void training, because that puts your consciousness at a state where you are removing yourself from all the noise, the different planes of reality, and you can acknowledge that everything is just on a manifested reality, but your awareness and your state of being is abiding in emptiness. Real quick, I'll want to add something to visualization. I wrote a blog post about this a while ago, but to develop this, first realize that when you daydream, your mind's eye is already visualizing things. When you are dreaming, your mind's eye is already visualizing things. So you already have that ability, but it's getting your mind to learn how to do these things consciously and at will. So as Bardon, kind of suggests, but a variation is you can say, okay, I'm going to focus on an object and look at it, put it down, and then try to reimagine it with all of its details. And what a lot of people get focused or hung up on is they think, I need to be able to visualize this just as tangibly right here as it is in like high definition. Yes, you can do that. I've had visions that are high definition, but also just holding to the idea of it being right there. Even if you are not seeing it as tangibly as it is, focus on, can I just imagine it there and hold the intention? And one way to load your visualizations externally is to continually put energy into them. This is something I learned in Tai Chi. I had to do standing Zen for 20 minutes and imagine a rose in front of me. And I was taught the way to do this is to just constantly focus on putting energy into that rose so that I could hold it. And that's my quick bit.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, that's some good stuff there. I have to say that for myself, I've found a great little collection or exercise set where I single point focus, and then I breathe into that point, and then it starts to gather and form, and that ends up being a like a mouse pointer, which then I can do like spinning what do they call them, like the fireworks, the sparklers around, and that will create a ghosted image, and that will breathe into that, and that will become more formed. I should probably make a video on this actually, but thank you for that. That was wonderful. Now, Dinesh, have you got something you'd like to throw in the ring?
Yeah. So with vital force or life force, body training is super important, but specifically fascia training, because fascia is what's going to give you the perception of life force with the mental flexibility that what we talked about before, being able to release your mind outward while maintaining a tensile stretch in your body. This will help you to conduct life force, which will be easier for you to perceive life force. So that's step one, where first you have to increase your perception of life force. And the more you go switching off the muscles and switching on the fascia, the more you're going to be able to perceive it. So that's the first aspect of it. And then I approach this, especially with the students, train your clairsentience first. So feel the energy first. Now add the visualization to what you're feeling. Then notice if you're feeling more, right? So does the visualization give you an objective feedback on or subjective feedback on whether you're doing it right? Because when we visualization is a bit of a double-edged sword. One, it can enhance your practice, or you can be stuck in an imagination world. So you always need to go back and forth with subjective and objective measurement. And this is why I really like partner training. So with partner training, when you're conducting the energy through to someone, it's either affecting them or it's not. You got an objective feedback when you're doing something right, when you're doing something wrong. When you add the visualization component to partner, it's pretty amazing. It's like, oh, I didn't actually transmit anything through feeling gate. I did it through the visual gate, and still it affected them. So that means my visualization is being strengthened, and I have a way to measure that. So that's one aspect on how to train it. And in terms of the void training, in relation to life force, so just the very basic building a ball exercise, you start to perceive life force, and you keep releasing your mind into it, and you keep going deeper and deeper. Eventually you hit the void of life force, or the akasha of life force. So, and the way you get there is through concentration. You concentrate to a point where it bridges to a meditative state, where the three bodies are synchronized, where you can access the akasha of life force itself. So that's probably the quickest. Well, the quickest way is when someone transmits it to you. But apart from that, the quickest way to do it is one-pointedness of life force itself. And I find that as a meditation object is a lot more profound than like what Bardon suggests in the book of visualization on like a matchbox or whatever. It's a very hard thing to hold in your mind. And as Veronica said, one way is that's easier to hold that object is breathe life force into it, because now there's a connection that you've made with your meditation object, which makes it easy to visualize and hold it. But because it's such a mundane object, it's like, it's a matchbox or a pen or whatever it may be. It's a very difficult process to hold that. And some people don't have that sort of concentration from a visual perspective. But what I've noticed is when you pay attention to life force itself, then the visualization comes through. And then eventually you hit the void or the akasha of life force itself. And it's easy to pay attention to energy because it's a phenomena that you keep like observing. It's like, holy shit, this stuff is real. It's a lot easier to maintain that connection. And especially that's one aspect. The other aspect is you have to maintain concentration to keep producing the energy. So when you lose concentration, the energy starts dissipating. So it kind of hits a lot of things at the same time. So the very fundamental exercise of building the ball, all the principles are there for you to get the whole vibrational scale. So it's pretty cool that you can train it that way. Because when I first approached the Bardon system back in 2008, I found it very difficult, like just on how to concentrate, how to observe your thoughts, and just the very basic stuff. And then when he kept going on about all this other stuff, I'm like, well, you're losing me here. Like, but something told me, like, stick with it. And eventually when I met Sifu Mark Rasmus and how he broke it down mechanically, it's like everything just started making sense and he started getting results straight away. And what got me into the door was building the ball. First, you have to have a tangible experience that life force exists. Then you have this aha moments, like your spirit awakens and everything becomes a lot easier. So what I would recommend for people starting off is go through that building the ball exercise and everything will fall into place. Whether it's visualization or accessing akasha or increasing vitality as well. And once we get to that point, it's like, okay, now I can perceive it. What next? It's the ability to manipulate and add information to the energy, which is going to create the dramatic changes in people's lives. So perception alone isn't, you're just perceiving what's there. Even if it's akasha, it's just a perception of it. We need an ability to connect our minds to it and be able to have will over what we're perceiving and be able to do things. And this is where it really starts getting interesting. And again, for this, I would recommend partner exercises because you get a objective measurement on what you're doing. And the more people you do, the more puzzles you solve, the better you get at it. And this starts to accumulate faith in what you're doing. It doesn't get stuck in the imagination world. Because the Bardon's approach is a top-down method, which is like someone who's like naturally psychic will get it. Someone who's got a vivid sense of imagination, they'll probably get it. But it's a very long road, and most people won't get it. So the other approach is bottom up. So that's where you access through the body itself, feel energy, right? And then you go up the vibrational scale and then you work top down. Then you come to an understanding all that exists is consciousness, information, and energy, right? Your mind interacting with form and formlessness, so to get to that point, I believe it's a lot easier when you work from bottom up first and then work top down.
Wonderful. Another great explanation there. And you're absolutely right. For me personally, I'm glad that I found Bardon via Mark, because he's like saying, build the ball. And so you get into that. And I was doing this with other things, but it's very satisfying. And when you have consecutively, like if you build satisfying things in front of you, like things, it builds momentum. You remain engaged, and then the development flourishes, right? And I have to say that this clairsentience training, and I'll be bringing this into my Reiki course, obviously, it's like, it's the game changer, really is. And it makes it very easy. You can teach pretty much anyone it. It gives them a shoe in the door straight away. And, I think it's got a better chance of gaining traction via that method personally. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of highly visual people out there, but a lot of visualization skills are being outsourced now because people are, getting fed information. So wonderful. Thank you for that. And Bob, I'm sure you've got something here. I've got to come up with a new line. Bob, have you got something you'd like to add?
Yeah. +1 on Build the Ball from Dinesh. It is what I call the gateway drug to magic, as a lot of people refer to it. But when it comes to vital force, this, in my experience, is largely the result of metabolic activity. So don't kid yourself, kids. Stop smoking, get your body mass in check if you're overweight. That's going to help your vital force a lot. And, you know, when you look at an old broken down guy like me, keep in mind, I wasn't always an old broken down guy. That's the reason why I can still get away with doing some of this stuff. But if you want to improve your vital force, always pay attention to the body, because as one of my teachers once said, you can't beat the monkey and you are the monkey. So, you know, keep that in mind. As far as visualization is concerned, the fluids in IIH, you need to make those. Those are really helpful for improving clairvoyance and clairaudience. And another thing I would suggest is the rites of Eucharist, charging food and drink before you practice with a given force will bring that force alive in ways that are hard to describe. Because we're running short on time, I'll keep it short. Void training. For that, my favorite approach to that is the letters, establishing equilibrium. Because when you really get that to crack, the first couple times it happens, it's explosive. And that forces people to come to terms with the fact that it's not their active visualization and imagination at work anymore. Something really profound is happening here. Because when you're working with a lot of this work, in the beginning, you can say, well, it's my imagination. Oh, it's just sensation. I'm just teaching my body to feel something. Okay, they can mentally abstract their way out of what they're doing and fall back on a materialist pattern of behavior or thinking. When you really hit the void hard the first time, that all falls apart. And again, equilibrium via the letters is the best thing going I've found.